Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone, depending on your time zone. My name is David Salgado, and I work as a methodologist at the Spanish National Statistical Office as an associate professor of official statistics at Complutense University of Madrid. I would like to begin by thanking the organization for giving us the opportunity to share the ongoing efforts by statistical offices in the European statistical system to incorporate mobile network data into the routinely production of official statistics. Mobile network data has been recognized and proven to be a notably enriching data source for the production of official statistics. However, the incorporation of this data for a sustainable daily production is proving to be a major challenge for statistical offices. In the context of the European statistical system, and in particular within the European project ESSnet on big data, today I would like to present the core results of our investigations to devise an end-to-end statistical process taking us from the raw telecommunication data generated in a network to the final estimates about a target population. Let me start by providing some context about this research. Beyond doubt, mobile network data stands as a promising data source for the production of official statistics in many statistical domains: human mobility, tourism, urban planning, transport, etc. On the other hand, the production of official statistics, in contrast with one-off research and academic studies, needs an appropriate production framework with a sustainable access to data, with a transparent, standardized statistical methodology from the raw data to the final outputs, and with a clear accomplishment of statistical disclosure control at all production steps. For complex and intricate reasons, the access and use of mobile network data by statistical offices have not been achieved in these conditions. I shall not talk about this issue about the access, but instead I will present firstly the strategy which we are following in the project, and then I will partially share some of the results obtained so far in our attempt to design a statistical process for this data source. As I commented before, the incorporation of this new data source in statistical offices is proving to be a very hard task due to many reasons. In our view, all this can be summarized as one major challenge. Data holders, mobile network operators in this case, need to become an active actor of the production process of official statistics. This brings novel elements since a full alignment of public and private interest must be found, or in a context of stringent privacy-preserving data processing and disseminating conditions. This situation is slowing down the development of statistical methodologies, the production of software tools, and the necessary revision of quality assurance frameworks for this data source. To alleviate this situation, in the project we are taking advantage of our knowledge about this data and our limited contacts with mobile network operators to develop an event network data simulator, that is, a software to generate synthetic mobile network data so that statistical methods, software tools, and quality frameworks can be proposed, developed, and assessed. This simulator is providing some first data sets, allowing us to propose a first modular end-to-end statistical process, producing final statistical outputs about a target population from the raw telecommunication data. The use of synthetic data is motivated by these reasons. First, to avoid the issue about the access to real data and its negative consequences, such as lack of data, confidentiality and privacy risks, legal concerns, etc. Second, to have actual ground truth figures, allowing us to conduct a thorough performance assessment of methods and parameters and a better understanding by comparison between actual population counts and the estimates. Third, to identify different concrete aspects of the problem by configuring different scenarios in order to propose specific elements in the methodology to deal with them. And finally, to provide a body of technical knowledge to reach informed partnership agreements with mobile network operators. Otherwise, it would be more difficult to know what to agree upon. As a matter of fact, real data cannot provide these conditions for research. In a hopefully successful implementation of this strategy, a prototyping production system will be in place when access to real data is finally granted. In this slide, we provide an overview of the whole statistical process. This figure represents the execution of this process from the raw data at the bottom to the final present population counts and origin destination matrices at the top. Each green box represents a different process module. Output data from one module enters as input data for next modules. In our context, the necessary data acquisition and preprocessing layer is substituted by the network event data simulator, which generates telecommunication data already prepared for statistical purposes. In practice, a set of novel business functions in a statistical office such as trust management must be put in place to deal with this process step. By and large, two types of data are taken from the network. On the one hand, we shall need data about the network configuration. Basically, these are parameters for radio wave propagation models, such as emission power, path loss exponents, antenna orientation parameters, etc. On the other hand, we shall need network event data generated by each device during each displacement across the geographical territory. Next, these two types of network data are combined with auxiliary information such as the land use or the transport networks to compute location probabilities in a reference grid of analysis over the territory. This is the so-called geolocation layer. Currently, two basic approaches are proposed. On the one hand, a static approach can be applied amounting to a direct use of Bayes' theorem incorporating both prior information and information coming from the network configuration. On the other hand, a dynamical approach can generalize this by using hidden Markov models, in which the emission model will contain the network configuration information and the transition model will contain the dynamical aspects of each device. Next, since we are interested on individuals from a target population and not on mobile devices, we need to deal with the device multiplicity issue. That is, those devices carried by the same individual over the territory must be deduplicated to reach accurate population counts. This is conducted in the deduplication layer, providing a multiplicity probability for each device. Next, depending on the definition of the target population, we need to identify those devices belonging to individuals in this target population. For example, we may need to identify domestic tourists, inbound tourists, commuters, etc. This is the statistical filtering module, not included in the figure since it has not been developed yet. We need more sophisticated displacement patterns in the simulator to make concrete proposals. Next, taking into account both the location probabilities and the multiplicity probabilities, we aggregate to compute the distribution for the number of individuals, not devices detected by the network. This is the aggregation layer. Finally, integrating the number of individuals detected by the network together with auxiliary information such as the telecommunication market penetration rates and register-based population data, we provide the probability distribution for the total number and the origin destination matrices of individuals in the target population, including those outside the network. This is the inference layer. It is important to underline that probability distributions are chosen as the input and output data in the sequencers modules. The use of probabilities, in our view, is important for several reasons. First, probability distributions allow us to account for the uncertainty on the whole process, thus paving the way for the computation of quality indicators, especially those related to accuracy. Second, probability models provide a natural way to integrate data through priors and posteriors in a hierarchy of models. This is important because the combination of diverse data sources will not only produce statistical outputs with higher quality, but it is also necessary in many cases, in particular with mobile network data, to avoid identifiability problems. Thirdly, probability distributions stand as a flexible module interface between the successive production steps. Indeed, as we expressed in the slide, we use the total probability theorem to connect all modules and to compute the final probability distribution for the final outputs conditioned on the original input data. To implement and test these ideas, we have developed a collection of resources also in a modular way. On the one hand, we have programmed the network event data simulator as a modular, evolvable, and configurable software. Basically, the user can specify as input parameters the geographical territory as a map, the population, both subscribers and non-subscribers, the network configuration, and the displacement patterns. This software is written in C++, producing a single executable command taking input parameters as XML files and producing a collection of output CSV files with the network event data and the synthetic ground truth. On the other hand, each production module is implemented in an R package according to the corresponding statistical method. Here, we include a link to each of the packages that you can find in a GitHub repository for our work package. Geolocation is implemented in packages moblop and dstim for the static and dynamical approaches, respectively. Moblop has been developed by our colleague Martin Technics at the Dutch Statistical Office. The duplication is implemented in the package deduplication using three alternative deduplicating methods. Statistical filtering has not been developed yet and thus no package has been created. Aggregation is implemented in package aggregation using Monte Carlo techniques to build Poisson multinomial variables as sum of multi-G random variables. Inference is implemented in package inference using hierarchical Bayesian modeling of very simple proposals such as beta binomial models and returning credible intervals and other indicators. Visualization functionalities such as plots, maps, and animations are provided in the package mopips, developed also by our colleague Martin Technics from the Dutch Statistical Office. Every piece of software is produced with open source code and is allowed to be shared and used especially for research. For private commercial use, there is some concern so that developers should be first consulted. We show some preliminary results for an illustrative example with a population of 500 individuals, 218 devices, 176 subscribers, moving with a drifted random walk displacement pattern in an irregular polygon with a 100 square kilometers bounding box. The network has 70 omnidirectional antennas and connections are set up according to the received signal strength. The territory is divided into 10 regions of analysis where present population counts and between which origin-destination matrices are to be estimated during the time period of analysis. The location probabilities are computed with a hidden Markov model with an emission model using an extremely simple radio wave propagation model and a sparse transition model with one-tile displacements. Along the execution of the process, we obtain intermediate results. Especially, we can compute the probability distribution for the number of individuals detected by the network in each region and at each time instant. Notice that we can compare at all times our intermediate results with a synthetic ground truth, thus possibly assessing the performance of each module. According to the methodology, we can provide the probability distribution for the total number of individuals in the target population. This is conducted in two steps. First, for an initial time instant where the auxiliary information is integrated, and then using the subscriber dynamics applied to all the target population. The probability distribution for the origin-destination matrices can also be computed for region pair on each time instant. Thus, we can provide credible intervals to be possibly compared with ground truth figures. As a summary, we want to underline the overall view of the modular process. Each module can be modified and improved with more sophisticated statistical methodology. Potential partnerships between statistical offices and mobile network operators stand as an ideal scenario where data can be identified to obtain an optimal process. The contribution from research centers, universities, and academia in general is thought to play an important role in this new age for official statistics. We leave our contact information and links to the main sites of the project if you want further details. You may also consult our contribution to the special issue of EPJ Data Science for this conference. Many thanks for your attention.